Deadly years. When the Enterprise party materialized on Gamma Hydrae 4, Robert Johnson was nowhere to be seen. In fact, no one was in sight, and the scene of their arrival, which resembled a Kansas field in mid-August, was eerily silent. The sun was shining brightly, a variety of greenery was visible everywhere, and they could even feel the ripples of heat waves over the neighboring meadow. But all sounds of life were absent. No insects, no animals, no people. Everything indicated that this was the area of Johnson's expedition headquarters. Nearby, they saw ready-made houses. Spock, Kirk noticed, also looked concerned. McCoy said, "Perhaps they weren't expecting us." Spock shook his head. "They knew about our arrival in advance, Doctor. The annual inspection of every scientific expedition is standard procedure. Besides, I spoke from hyperspace with the expedition leader, Robert Johnson, no more than an hour ago," Kirk said. "Jim, was something wrong?" "No, but at the same time, something was off. I can't put my finger on it right now, but the conversation was odd, as if it were difficult to maintain for someone preoccupied with something else." Kirk pointed to the nearest building. "Mr. Chekhov, search this place. Mr. Spock and I will search that one. McCoy, Scotty, Lieutenant Galway, take a look around, see if you can find anything." The squad split up. Arlene Galway looked a little apprehensive, Kirk thought. Well, this was her first trip outside the solar system. She'd toughen up with time. And the circumstances were a bit odd. Kirk and Spock were about to enter their building when a scream rang out. Kirk turned to see Chekhov running out into the open, looking around wildly. "Captain! Captain!" Chekhov's voice was a full octave higher. Kirk rushed toward him. "What's happened?" "Captain, it's inside!" "Get a hold of yourself, Chekhov. What happened?" "A man, sir, inside!" Chekhov seemed to calm down somewhat. "A dead man." "Okay, we'll check. But why the panic? You've seen dead people before." "I know," Chekhov said, slightly ashamed. "But this one, sir, is a bit odd. And frankly, it struck me." "It's more accurate to say scared." "Okay, Bones, Spock, let's take a look." Kirk pulled out his phaser. It was quite dark inside the building, and Kirk, coming from the bright sun, had a hard time adjusting to the light inside. At first, the building seemed completely empty, but then he spotted a low structure at the end of the room. He approached it cautiously. Then he suddenly realized what had so frightened Chekhov. The object was a crudely constructed wooden coffin pulled by sawhorses. The body lying within could have belonged to Methuselah. Deep wrinkles made its features almost unrecognizable. Its open mouth was devoid of teeth, its almost white gums were wrinkled, and its eyes sank into deep pits beneath lids of loose skin. Its body seemed to be composed entirely of bones, held together by a brown spotted covering, a tissue paper thin shell. Its claw-like hands were clasped across its sunken chest. Chekhov's voice said through the haze, "I ran into him on my way back, sir, and I understand you perfectly, Chekhov. Calm down. Bones, what is this?" "What you see, Jim. Death from natural causes. In other words, death from old age." "Doctor," Spock said, "I checked all the members of the expedition before the descent, and I assure you that not one of them was—" Before Spock could finish, Kirk heard the shuffling of feet near the open door. They all turned towards it. A man and a woman hobbled toward them, leaning on sticks. They were hunched over and withered, their scalps showing through their thin white hair. The man said in a trembling voice, "You have come to pay your respects to Professor Alvin." "I'm Kirk, Captain." "You should speak louder," the man said, cupping his hand near his ear. "I said I was Captain Kirk of the Enterprise, but who are you?" Robert Johnson, the man said, nodding. And this is my wife, Eileen. That's impossible, Kirk said. How old are you? Me? Let me think. Oh yes, I'm 29. Eileen is 27. The dead silence was finally broken by McCoy. I'm a doctor. You both need rest and medical attention. Only 3 frail old men, the only survivors from the entire expedition, were taken to the isolation ward, and Nurse Chapel, with her characteristic gentleness and care, began tending to them. Standing behind McCoy, Kirk leaned over Robert Johnson's bed. Can you hear me, Mr. Johnson? The film-covered eyes had difficulty finding his face. I'm not deaf yet, you know. Not completely yet. Do you have any idea what happened? What happened? Johnson repeated weakly. Did your instruments show anything? The old man's mind wandered. As if addressing some benevolent but invisible god, Johnson said, Eileen was so beautiful. So beautiful. He hears you, Jim, but he doesn't understand. Let him rest. Kirk nodded. Sister Chapel, if either of them can talk, I'll be in the conference room. He turned to the intercom. Kirk to the bridge. Mr. Spock, Commander Stoker, Dr. Wallace, please proceed to the conference room. Bones, I'd like you to proceed there as well. Janice Wallace and George Stoker were the guests of honor. He, a dynamic administrator in his 40s, she, a very attractive endocrinologist in her late 20s. They were already waiting with Spock at the large table when he and McCoy arrived. He nodded to them all, and they sat down. Commander Stoker, I invited you to this meeting because Gamma Hydra 4 falls within your administrative zone. A neat, self-confident man said, I am grateful to you for this, Captain. A hint of excitement entered Kirk's voice as he spoke to the dark-eyed girl sitting next to the commander. Dr. Wallace, although you're new to our team, your credentials as an endocrinologist are impressive. Given the situation we're facing, I'd be grateful if you could work alongside Dr. McCoy. She smiled at him. Yes, Captain. He turned quickly to McCoy. Bones, fill them in on the problem. McCoy said, The surviving members of the Gamma Hydra 4 expedition aren't simply suffering from old age. They continue to age with every passing minute. My examinations have revealed nothing. I have no idea what could have caused this rapid aging process. Mr. Spock, what about the surrounding atmosphere? The sensors don't show anything hostile to human life, sir. The atmosphere reflects the usual amount of harmful cosmic radiation. However, we are near the neutral zone between our Federation and the Romulan Confederation. The Romulans may have new weapons. They may have used the members of our expedition as guinea pigs. I have begun to consider that possibility, Captain, Spock said. Kirk stood up. I'd like you to check everything, each in your own specialty. No matter how far-fetched or outlandish the ideas may seem, I'd like you to check them all. He paused, to give his words more weight. We'll remain in orbit until we receive an answer. Stoker said, I need to get to Starbase 10 to take up my new post. I hope you understand that, Captain. I will do everything in my power to ensure that you arrive on time, Commander. Thank you, Captain. Then everyone present left the conference room. But the dark-eyed Dr. Wallace remained motionless. Kirk turned to her at the door. Is there anything I can do for you, Doctor? Yes, she said. For example, you could say, Hello, Janet. You might not be so cold, experienced starship captain, since we are old friends. Janet, as captain, I have certain responsibilities. Then he smiled wryly. Or maybe I just don't want to catch fire again. I have a small scar on my heart myself, she said. There was silence. Then he said, How much time has passed? More than 6 years, Jim. It's a long time. But nothing would change if we started all over again, would it? I have the ship, and you have the job. Neither of us would change. You never asked me why I got married after we broke up. I think you found someone else and fell in love with him. I found a person I admired. From the same field as you. You didn't have to sacrifice anything. You're right. But he's already dead, Jim. She approached him, holding out her hands. Kirk hesitated. Then he took her hand, his eyes searching her warm brown ones. But suddenly, Uhura's voice came over the intercom. Captain Kirk, Mr. Spock would like to see you on the bridge. Tell Mr. Spock I'm coming, he said, trying to find something hidden in her brown eyes. Janet, we're in a lot of trouble right now. Maybe when everything settles down, things will change. Uhura's voice interrupted him again. Captain Kirk, Mr. Scotty would like to see you in engineering. Tell him I'll be there as soon as I talk to Spock. He pulled Janet close and said, But this time, there must be truth between us. You and I now know what each of us represents. What a long 6 years, she said, wrapping her arms around his neck. He leaned over to kiss her, but then the voice came over the comms again. Captain Kirk! Coming, Lieutenant Uhura. A sudden wave of fatigue washed over him. He touched the girl's lips. 6 long years, and perhaps 6 more. Dr. Wallace, your lips are as enticing as ever, but I've already spoken of my duties. The fatigue remained with him on the way to the bridge. Zulu greeted him with the words, Standard orbit, Captain. Kirk said, Help, he said, and approached Spock, who was sitting at the computer. I've rechecked the sensor readings, sir. Gamma Hydrae 4 is classified as a Class M planet with a nitrogen-oxygen atmosphere, normal mass, and typical atmospheric conditions. I can't find anything unusual. What about the comet that passed by recently? I'm looking into it now, sir. I haven't come to any conclusions yet. This comet is a wandering one and has never been studied. Captain Kirk! It was Stoker. He looked like a man possessed by an idea. The facilities at Starbase 10, he said, are much better than here on board this ship. I think your research will be more successful if we go there immediately. I promise you my assistance. Thank you, Commander, but we have our own equipment. I'm going to engineering, Mr. Spock. He left the computer station to tell Zulu, Maintain standard orbit, Mr. Zulu. The surprised Zulu exclaimed, But you have already given this order, sir. Kirk was surprised himself. Really? Okay, go ahead and do it. As he left the bridge, Spock watched him go, his gaze filled with concern. Lieutenant Galway also looked concerned as she approached the isolation cell doors. Dr. McCoy, can I talk to you? Of course. He nodded towards the chair, but she didn't sit down. I know, she said. It sounds stupid, but I've developed hearing problems. It's probably nothing serious, McCoy reassured. But I didn't have any problems before. I'll examine you. I think a simple ultrasound treatment will help you. She said, Thank you, doctor, she said, and followed him into the examination room. Kirk, too, was having problems of his own. In his quarters, stripped to the waist, he wiped his freshly shaved face and reached for a clean shirt lying on the bed. As he raised his right arm to thread it through the sleeve, a sharp pain shot through his shoulder. He winced, lowered his arm, and flexed it, massaging the shoulder muscle. The pain persisted. Slowly, carefully, he put the shirt on, then moved to the microphone and pressed the button. How are things going, Mr. Spock? All test results have been negative, Captain. Kirk said, The astronomical section reports that the comet passed by very recently. Check it out. Spock waited a moment before answering. That's exactly what I'm doing, according to your orders. We've already discussed this before. Okay, let me know if anything comes up. I'll be in the isolation ward. Yes, Captain. The walk to the isolation ward seemed longer than usual. The pain, similar to that in his right shoulder, extended to his right knee. Kirk limped slightly as he entered the isolation ward. In the bedding section, all but one of the 3 beds were empty. He thought, so, 2 of Johnson's squad have already died. It was an unpleasant remark. Then he saw Nurse Chapel pulling a blanket over the face of a patient lying in the 3rd bed. McCoy looked up. Robert Johnson has passed away. He's the last one, Jim. Cause of death? Old age. Did you do all you could? Kirk asked. The call came. Dr. McCoy? This is Scotty. Can I come in to see you? McCoy replied briefly. You just need some vitamins, but you can come in, Scotty. He hung up and Kirk remarked, Bones, I think you're starting to go gray. If only you had my job, I'd like to see what happened to you. McCoy quietly ordered Sister Chapel and turned back to Kirk. Okay, what's your problem? Shoulder, Kirk said. It's a little sore, probably a pulled muscle. Perhaps, Dr. Kirk, McCoy snapped. Kirk grinned. I'll take your remark into account, sir. I won't diagnose myself with any more diagnoses. McCoy ran his device over Kirk's shoulder and frowned. I'd better do a full examination. So what, a sprain? McCoy shook his head. No, Jim, it's advanced arthritis, and it's still spreading. But this is impossible. Even if I do the examination again, I will get the same answer. Kirk looked past him, his expression frightened, toward the isolation cell doors. McCoy turned. Scotty stood there. With snow-white hair, he looked about 60. The Enterprise's detention center had begun to resemble a Golden Age club. On Kirk's orders, everyone who had landed on Gamma Hydrae 4 had gathered there. With the exception of Chekhov, everyone was affected by the rapid aging process. Kirk looked 55, McCoy 10 years older. Even Spock's Vulcan heritage couldn't completely protect him from the effects. Wrinkles had appeared on his face, and bags had formed under his eyes. Lieutenant Galway looked like a woman in her late 70s. Scotty looked older than them all. Okay, Bones, Kirk said. Let's get started. McCoy said, all of you who descended to the planet, except Chekhov, are aging rapidly. The rate is different for everyone, but on average, it's 30 years a day. I don't know what's causing it, a virus, bacteria, or evil spirits. I'm trying to figure it out. Spock, I asked you to calculate something. Based on the data McCoy provided, I'd say we'll survive for about a week. It also seems likely that since our brains age faster than our bodies, we'll transition to a plant-based lifestyle in less than a week. Do you mean complete old age? Decrepitness? Yes, Captain. In a very short time. Kirk took a step back from the group. What a vile way to die. He turned slowly, protecting his aching knee. I want every research department on this ship, every scientific technician, to immediately begin a 24/7 investigation. I need an answer and a cure. And you must start by answering why Chekhov wasn't affected. I'm doing the best I can, McCoy said. He took his diagnostic tool from Spock. You are in excellent health, Spock. I must object, Doctor. I find it difficult to concentrate. My vision is beginning to fail, and the normal temperature of the ship seems increasingly colder to me. I didn't say it didn't affect you. Scotty asked grimly, Can I return to work? Is this what you want, Scotty? Kirk asked. Of course. I just need a little rest, that's all. McCoy said, You may go as well if you wish, Lieutenant Galway. She didn't move. McCoy spoke louder. Lieutenant Galway. What? Are you talking to me, Doctor? Yes. I said you can go. Why don't you go to your cabin and get some sleep? No, I don't want to sleep. Don't you understand? If I fall asleep, what will I see when I wake up? Kirk said, Lieutenant Galway, report to your post and begin performing your duties. Her, yes, Captain, sounded grateful. She rose from her chair with a groan and headed for the door, suddenly finding herself staring at her reflection in the mirror. She turned away in horror. What an unfortunate place for a mirror. She barely crawled out the door. Kirk watched her go. She is 7 or 8 years younger than me, but looks 10 years older. People usually age at different rates, Jim. Kirk turned to Chekhov. But then why doesn't he age? I don't know. But I want to know. Maybe it's because of his youth, blood types, glands, medical history, heredity. Sister Chapel, prepare Mr. Chekhov for a full examination. She stood up. Let's go. It won't hurt. At least, not very much. As the door closed behind the nurse and Chekhov, who followed reluctantly behind her, Janet Wallace turned to McCoy. Several years ago, on Aldebaran 3, my husband and I used a variation of the cholesterol block to reduce atherosclerosis in animals. Did it help? Sometimes. But there were very strong side effects. We had to stop the experiments. Nevertheless, try it, Dr. Wallace. Try anything, but do it quickly. Yes, sir, she said, and went out too. Mr. Spock, return to the bridge, Kirk said. I'll join you shortly. Keep me updated on Chekhov's examination, Bones. He met Janet Wallace, who was waiting for him in the corridor. I thought you were already on your way to your biochemistry lab, Doctor. We're on the same path, Jim. After a moment, he nodded. Yes. She adjusted to his slow gait. We know what the problem is, she said. We know the impact, and we know how fast it's happening. So, as soon as we find the right theory, at least theoretically, we'll find a practical solution. Kirk smiled. You speak like my first mate. There are no problems, Jim, not even ours, that are insoluble. I could name you 5 unsolvable problems off the top of my head. For example, why was the universe created? Can we be sure of what we know? Are there always right or wrong actions? What is the nature of beauty? What is the solution to Fermat's last theorem? None of them can be solved by logic. No, the heart is not logical. We are fortunate that its roots are not in logic. She took his arm. When I married Theodore Wallace, I thought it was all over with you. I was wrong. Kirk glanced at her quickly. When did you realize this? Today. How many years was your husband older than you? What does it matter? Answer. 26, she answered reluctantly. Then, as if he were demanding an explanation, she added, He was a brilliant man. We were alone on a remote station working together. She burst into tears. Jim, I don't want to talk about him. I want to talk about us. Look at me, Kirk demanded. He grabbed her shoulders. I said, look at me. What do you see? I see Captain Kirk, she said hesitantly. A very honest, decent, strong, handsome man. And old, he shouted. Old and getting older every minute. Jim, please. What are you offering me, Jane? Love or a parting gift? "This is very cruel," she said. "It's fair." His voice was hoarse with bitterness. "Just wait a couple more days, Janet. By then I'll be old enough for you to stop loving me." Meanwhile, young Chekhov experienced all the delights of a comprehensive medical examination. "Give us some more blood, Chekhov," he muttered. "This won't hurt you, Chekhov. Take off your shirt, Chekhov. Turn around, Chekhov. Breathe, Chekhov. Blood test, bone marrow test, skin test. They've taken so many samples from me, I'm not sure I'm even here anymore." "Sick man, you will live," said Zulu. "Yes, of course. I will live, but I will never enjoy it again." Kirk walked onto the bridge and he fell silent. Zulu said, "Maintaining standard orbit, Captain. Increase the orbit to 20,000. As Kirk moved toward his command chair, Doris Atkins handed him the tablet. "Will you sign this, sir?" He glanced at it, scribbled his name, and handed it back as Commander Stoker approached. "I would like to talk to you, Captain." "I have very little time, Commander." "Okay, sir. I just want to remind you that we have a specific date to be at Starbase 10. I'm afraid we'll be too late, Commander Stoker. I don't intend to leave this area until we find a solution to our problem. Captain, I'm watching 4 very valuable and possibly irreplaceable members of Starfleet die before my eyes. I want to do something to help." "If you're that concerned," Kirk said, "I'll send a hyperspace message to Starbase 10 and explain the situation." Spock, sitting at the computer, shook his head. Kirk noticed his gesture. "What are you, Mr. Spock?" "Captain, you already sent such a message this morning." "Oh, yes, of course." He changed the subject. "Secretary Atkins." "Yes?" "Where is the fuel consumption report?" "You just signed it, sir." "If I had signed it, I wouldn't be asking you about it. Give it here." The girl timidly handed over the board. It was his signature. He angrily handed it back and leaned back in his chair. He saw Chekhov and Zulu exchange glances. Uhura deliberately turned away. Kirk closed his eyes. He felt like he needed rest. He was helpless. That was a fact. He'd never been this tired before. And this state wouldn't change. Tired. Tired. As if from afar, he heard Spock's voice. "Captain, I think I know the reason. I've decided—" The voice trailed off, and Kirk let his consciousness drift again, shaking. "Captain!" He rose with great effort. Spock? Sorry, I was lost in thought." "Understood, sir." "Do you have anything to report, Mr. Spock?" "Yes, sir. I think I know the cause of the disaster. I'm not sure, but the lead I have seems promising." Kirk asked cautiously, "What is this?" "A comet," Spock said. Gamma Hydrae 4's orbit took it directly through the comet's tail. I scanned the remnants against normal background radiation and detected nothing. But when I adjusted the sensors to a much lower range, an undetected radiation reading appeared on the scale. Below normal radiation levels, but definitely present. And this is undoubtedly the remnant of the comet's tail. "Okay, Mr. Spock. Let's report this to Dr. McCoy immediately." As he stood up, a sharp pain shot through his right knee. He massaged it and limped toward Uhura. "Lieutenant, please accept a message for Starfleet Command." "Yes, sir." "Due to proximity to the Romulans, use code 2. "But sir, the Romulans have cracked the second code, if you remember the last bulletin." "Then use code 3. "Yes, sir. Code 3. Message. The key to the problem may be a comet that passed by Gamma Hydrae 4. Said comet is currently... He looked at Spock. Quadrant 448, sir. I propose that all units be put on alert for a full study of the radiation and methods for neutralizing it. The comet is extremely dangerous. Kirk, captain of the Enterprise. Send him immediately, Lieutenant Uhura. Come, Mr. Spock. He stopped near the elevator. Mr. Zulu, increase orbit to 20,000 miles. Astonished, Zulu said, Do you mean another 20,000, Captain? Kirk turned around instantly, his face grim. I don't understand why each of my teams is being questioned. Do as you're told, Mr. Zulu. Spock asked calmly. What is our current situation, Mr. Zulu? Orbit at 20,000, sir. Kirk looked at Spock's impassive face. Then he said, Stick to it, Mr. Zulu. Yes, sir. As the elevator door closed behind them, a tense silence fell on the bridge. But the prisoner's spirit was revived. Radiation, McCoy said. That's as good an answer as any. But why didn't we know about this before? I suspect, Doctor, because my thinking abilities are not as high as they used to be. McCoy looked at Spock. Then he handed the cartridge containing his film to Janet Wallace. Please look at this, Doctor. Okay, Kirk said. Please keep me informed. I'll be on the bridge. Are you coming, Spock? I have a question for the doctor, Captain. Kirk nodded and left. Spock said, Doctor, the ship's temperature is becoming increasingly unbearable for me. I've adjusted the heating in my cabin to 125 degrees. That's at least bearable, but... It looks like I won't be visiting you at home, McCoy said. I was wondering if there was anything that would reduce my sensitivity to cold. I'm not a wizard, Spock, just an old country doctor. When the Vulcanite closed the isolation cell doors behind him, Janet, upset, turned away from the computer. Doctor, none of our conventional anti-radiation therapies will have any effect on this form of radiation poisoning. Okay, we'll start right now. We'll work even harder, faster, start right now. But we have to find something. In the corridor, Spock was intercepted by Commander Stoker. Can I talk to you, Mr. Spock? I'm listening to you, Commander. Stoker lowered his voice. Mr. Spock, a ship can function even if the chief engineer, chief surgeon, or even first officer are unwell. But it's terrible if that happens to the ship's commander. I know that. Please, take me. My admiration for Captain Kirk is boundless. He is a wonderful commander. But Mr. Spock, I need your help and your cooperation. Why, sir? I want you to take command of the Enterprise. On what basis, sir? On the grounds that the captain is unable to perform his duties due to his condition. I must remind you that I am in the same state. But you're a Vulcan, Stoker said. You have a much longer lifespan. You're less susceptible to aging. I am only half human, sir, Spock said. My physical reflexes are diminished. My mental abilities are limited. I tire easily. No, sir. I am not fit to command. If you, Vulcanite, are no good, then Captain Kirk is even less so. Sir, Spock said, I have business to attend to. Mr. Spock, I don't want to say what I have to say, but the instructions require it. As second in command on the Enterprise, you are to schedule an urgent review of the captain's competence. I object to that proposal, sir, Spock said dryly. You don't have a choice. If the captain is in poor physical and mental condition, a competency hearing is provided for by the rules. Please don't make me quote the rules, which you know as well as I do. There was a long pause. Very well, Spock said. The hearing will be scheduled for 2 p.m. Under Kirk's anxious gaze, Janet and McCoy conducted Chekhov's final examinations. The unfortunate man was considerably tired during this endless procedure. It won't hurt, McCoy told him. You said that last time, Chekhov said, and the time before that. And did it hurt? Yes, Chekhov answered. A groan came from the door. Doctor, help me. They turned to see Arlene Galway clinging to the doorframe for support. She was completely unrecognizable. She had aged so much. Please do something. Help! She reached out, but before anyone could reach her, she fell to the floor. McCoy leaned over her, and Kirk looked at her, frightened and shocked. It's not Lieutenant Galway, he asked in a trembling voice. It's her, McCoy replied, his own voice wavering. Or rather, it was her. She died. Her higher metabolism caused her to age faster than the rest of us. But it's only a matter of time. Bones, how much time do we have left? Oh, it's a matter of days, Jim, perhaps even hours. This wasn't the kind of information that would reassure a Starfleet captain summoned to a hearing on his competence. And the people gathered around the table in the conference room had nothing reassuring to say either. The mysterious radiation had left deep scars on everyone unfortunate enough to attend Robert Johnson's expedition. Looking as if he had just celebrated his 50th birthday, Spock opened the hearing by turning to Secretary Atkins, who was taking the minutes. Let it be recorded that this competency hearing is being conducted at the direction of Commander Stoker, who is present. He paused. And reluctantly convened by me. Kirk said, let it also be recorded that I consider this hearing to be incompetent. Spock looked at Stoker. He said, Rule 7592, Section 3, Paragraph 11. I know the rules, Commander, Kirk replied. Spock said calmly, the validity of the hearing, Captain, is beyond doubt. Mr. Spock, may I make a statement? Stoker asked the question. When Spock nodded, he said, I've had to investigate the lives of highly valued members of Starfleet. I tried to convince Captain Kirk of the need to proceed to Starbase 10, but he forbade it every time. I'm responsible for this hearing. On the contrary, Commander, Spock said, as the presiding officer, the commanding officer, and the second in command, I bear responsibility. Captain Kirk, do you wish to make a statement? Yes! He almost shouted the word. I am the captain of this ship and am perfectly capable of handling it. Stop this farce and let's get back to work. I cannot, sir, Spock said. The instructions are quite precise. The chills began to run through him again. You will be given the opportunity to interrogate all witnesses after this body begins questioning them. Kirk's face twisted with sarcasm. That's very kind of you, Mr. Spock. Spock pressed the button on the computer tape recorder and said calmly, Mr. Zulu, how many years have you served with Captain Kirk? 2 years, sir. Did it ever happen that he was unable to make decisions? No, sir. Did he give you orders to maintain a standard orbit around Gamma Hydrae 4? Yes, sir. And a few minutes later he repeated his order? Yes, sir. Did he give you the order to increase the orbit to 20,000? Yes, sir. And didn't he repeat this order? He didn't repeat it, Kirk shouted. When I give an order, I assume it will be carried out. I don't need to repeat it. Captain, you will be given the opportunity to cross-examine when we are finished. I think you're getting your terminology mixed up, Spock. This isn't a meeting, it's a massacre. Captain, such a hearing is not only permitted, but mandated by regulations. Please answer the question, Mr. Zulu. Yes, sir. Captain Kirk repeated his order. Commander? I have no questions, Stoker said. Captain Kirk? Go on. Spock clenched his teeth to keep them from chattering. His hands were cramping with the cold. Secretary Atkins, you gave Captain Kirk the fuel consumption report in front of witnesses. He read it and signed it. Is that correct? Sir, he was thinking about much more serious things. These recent difficulties. Answer the question asked of you. I think he forgot that he signed it. You think? He forgot that he signed it. Thank you. You can go. The procedure continued. Spock called Uhura to confirm that Kirk had forgotten the Romulans had deciphered Code 2. Okay, Kirk shouted. I needed to think about something else. I admit my mistake. She could have been dangerous, Stoker said. It's not your turn now, Commander, Spock said. Dr. McCoy. McCoy slept with his eyes open. Dr. McCoy. He stood up. Excuse me. I'm listening, Mr. Spock. Several hours ago, at the request of this meeting, you performed a full physical examination of Captain Kirk. Yes. McCoy tossed the film across the table to Spock. Please, you can rejoice. In complete silence, the Vulcanite inserted the cartridge into the computer slot. The device hummed, clicked, and spoke. The physical age of the subject, according to the physiological profile, is 63 solar years. There was silence. Then Kirk said, I am 34 years old. The computer disagrees with you, Stoker said. Dr. McCoy, please provide a professional assessment of Captain Kirk's current physical condition. McCoy looked away from Spock. He's afflicted with a strange form of radiation sickness, just like you, me, and Mr. Scotty. Please limit your comments to Captain Kirk, Doctor. What effect has the illness had on him? He's gone a little gray. Mild arthritis. This is all? You know perfectly well that it's not. Spock, what are you trying to achieve? I'm doing my duty. Doesn't the captain suffer from a strange physical affliction that closely resembles aging? Yes, of course. But it's better than… Doctor, do you agree with the computer's assessment of the captain's age? It's just a car. Do you agree with her, Doctor? I agree. Sorry, Jim. The Council has no further questions. Unless you, Commander Stoker. I am completely satisfied, Mr. Spock. Do you wish to call witnesses, Captain Kirk? I am able to speak out in my own defense. Kirk tried to get up. His knee gave way, and he grabbed the table to steady himself. This hearing was held for one sole purpose, because I refuse to leave Gamma Hydra 2. Gamma Hydra 4, sir, Spock corrected. Of course. It's a slip of the tongue. What was I saying? He suddenly clenched his fist and slammed it down on the table. I'm a little out of my mind. And why wouldn't I be at a time like this? My ship is in danger, my senior officers are sick, and this nonsense about a competency hearing. It's enough to make anyone confused. Trying to relieve a Starfleet captain of command. Somehow I never would have thought that about you, Spock. He looked around angrily. Okay, ask me questions. Come on, I'll show you what I'm capable of. My memory is intact, and my determination is as well. I repeat, we will maintain orbit around Gamma Hydra 2. Everyone has heard the second memory error. Spock, having gone cold, nevertheless spoke calmly into the silence. You have no further questions, Captain? He tried not to tremble. You will not leave the room, sir, until the vote is taken. Excellent. You can be sure I'll get out. Conduct your stupid vote so I can get back to piloting the ship." He limped to the door and turned. "If you need me, I'll be in my cabin." When the door closed behind him, Spock said, "A simple show of hands is sufficient. Dr. Wallace is excluded from the vote. Those who agree that Captain Kirk is no longer fit to lead the Enterprise, please raise your hands." Everyone but Spock slowly raised their hands. "Mr. Spock." It was Commander Stoker's voice. Spock raised his hand. The recording computer summarized. The decision was made unanimously. Stoker said, "I think, Mr. Spock, that you will now take command of this ship." "You are mistaken, sir." "Explain yourself." "By the same laws that apply to this hearing for the captain, my own physical disabilities prevent me from taking up a command position." "Good. Next in rank is Mr. Scotty." All eyes turned to Scotty. He stared at the waiting faces, nodded, and fell asleep. "Since all senior officers are incompetent, I am forced by regulations to assume command." Stoker was rising from the table when Spock said, "Sir, you have never commanded a spaceship. Who would you like to see in this place, Mr. Spock?" "There is a danger from the Romulans," Spock said. "Mr. Spock, we have to save these people." He turned to Zulu. "Mr. Zulu, set a direct course to Starbase 10. Fifth warp." "Through the neutral zone, sir?" Stoker nodded. "Change course immediately." "Commander Stoker, I beg you not to underestimate the danger," Spock said sternly. "The neutral zone is lightly patrolled at best. I'm willing to bet the Romulans wouldn't notice this violation." "Our chances, if you don't allow this, sir," Spock began. "I won't allow it." Stoker stepped toward the door. "All officers must return to their duties." Kirk was alone in his cabin, tired, defeated, looking about 70. When there was a knock on the door, he forced himself to answer. "Come in." Spock entered, accompanied by Jenneth, who paused near the door. Kirk looked at Spock hopefully, but the first officer's face this time revealed everything. "So, I'm suspended." "Sorry, Captain." "You should be a prosecutor." "The instructions required this of me." "Instructions," Kirk said. "Don't talk to me about instructions, Spock. You've always wanted to command. The first opportunity." "I have not accepted command, Captain." "I imagine you're proud of it." Kirk paused, Spock's words slowly sinking in. "What do you mean? You didn't take command?" "I suffer from the same affliction as you, sir." "But if you are not in command, then who is?" "Commander Stoker." It took Kirk a long time to process the name. Then he exploded. "Stoker? Are you crazy? He's never held a command in combat. If Scotty—" "Mr. Scotty is unfit to assume command. Commander Stoker is the superior officer." "Don't talk rank to me. This man is a desk jockey. Spock, I order you to assume command." "I can't, sir." "You are disobeying a direct order, Mr. Spock." "No, Captain. Only Commander Stoker may give orders on this ship from now on." Kirk was blinded by impotent rage. "You're a traitor who stabbed me in the back at the first opportunity. You—" He found himself crying. "Get out of here! I don't want to see you again!" Spock hesitated, bowed his head slightly, and left. A moment later, Kirk noticed a female figure still standing at the door of his cabin, sniffling slightly. He stared at her. "Who is this? Jen? Jen?" "I'm so sorry, Jim," she said, "but it's true." "I acted like a fool. I let them get the better of me. I let them fool me." Everyone understands this. But I'm not old, Jen. I'm not old. A little muscle pain doesn't make a person old. You don't steer a ship with your hands, you steer it with your head. My mind is as sharp as ever. We will find a way to cure you. A simple case of radiation poisoning, and I'm relieved of command. He turned and looked at himself in the mirror. Okay, I admit I've gone a little gray. Radiation could have done that. Jim, she said with pain in her voice, I have to go to work. Please excuse me. Look at me, Jen. You said you love me. You know me. Look closely. Please, Jim. I just need a little rest. That's all. I'm not old, am I? Come on, say it. Say I'm not an old man. There was no answer. Grabbing her by the shoulders, he pulled her towards him and kissed her with all the passion he could muster. But there was no answer. And worse, he felt nothing himself. Kirk let go of her and saw the pity in her eyes. He turned away. Leave. What now? He couldn't think of anything. He was relieved of his post. An answer? But there was no answer. Wait. Something in the comet. McCoy. Chekhov. The observation room. That's right, the observation room. He hobbled toward it, cursing himself for his slowness. Spock was there, as were Nurse Chapel, McCoy, and Janet. They all looked very old, but the unfortunate Chekhov, lying back on the table, seemed unchanged. He spoke. Why don't I go back to my work and leave my blood here? Kirk tried to glare at Spock. What are you doing here? It seems that this is where I can be of the most use. Perhaps you would like to relieve Dr. McCoy of his post? Bones, what about Ensign Chekhov? Nothing, McCoy said irritably. Absolutely nothing. It can't be. It can't be. We came to the surface together. We stayed in the same spot. He was with us the whole time. No, Captain, Spock said, taking a deep breath. Not all the time. He was gone for a few moments. Leaving us? Kirk stared at the Vulcanite, trying to remember. Oh, yes. When he went into the building, Really, Spock, something must have happened. Indeed, Captain. Doctor, do you remember Professor Alvin's corpse in a makeshift coffin? Chekhov, are you scared? Kirk barked. You ran into a dead man and... You're right, Chekhov said. I was scared, sir, but I must tell you, not half as scared as I am now. Frightened? McCoy asked, raising a shaking hand to his chin. Yes, possibly. Your heart beats faster, your breathing quickens, you break out in a cold sweat. I once read that this was how they treated radiation poisoning in the mid-20th century. That method was banned, Janet said, when it was discovered. Yes, McCoy said excitedly. Don't confuse me. Why was it rejected? There must be a reason. I knew that well once. They didn't have an intermediary? Yes, that's the point. It's AMF. Nurse, query the computer for AMF. Christine Chapel turned back to the computer screen in disbelief. After what seemed like a long moment, she said, There's a separate article on this drug. It's called cyclic adenosine tri-5-monophosphate. But it interferes with hormonal processes, which is why they abandoned it. We'll try it, McCoy said, grumbling like an old man. What are you standing there for, Dr. Wallace? Synthesize me a batch. Damn it, get moving! Meanwhile, on the bridge, Commander Stoker sat in the command chair. If he noticed how many backs were deliberately turned in his direction, he didn't show it. He was too busy trying to make sense of all the lights flickering on the panel before him. Entering the Romulan neutral zone, sir, the helmsman said. All sensors at maximum. What awaits them there? Thank you, Mr. Spock. Excuse me, Mr. Zulu. Lieutenant Uhura, let me know if we make contact with the Romulans. Yes, sir. Everything is calm for now. Stoker nodded and looked down again. The tiny lights danced mockingly before him. As a cadet, he'd once studied a similar instrument panel, but since then, everything had been changed and equipped with new symbols whose meaning, with a few exceptions, he didn't understand. Well, he'd have to rely on these officers. Suddenly, the Enterprise shuddered violently, and half the little lights turned red. This stunned him. What was that? He asked helplessly. Contact, sir, Uhura said dryly. The Romulans are approaching from both sides, sir, Zulu added. The ship shook again, this time more violently. Stoker said nervously, Let's look at them. The main view screen lit up. It was filled with tiny, moving lights that would have been indistinguishable from the stars if they hadn't been moving. I don't see any Romulans. Romulans change color, sir. They change it depending on how fast they're moving. The ship beneath him reared up, and now all the lights turned red. We're caught in a fork, Zulu said dispassionately. There was a bell, the meaning of which he could not determine. Calling engineering, sir, Uhura prompted. Do you want the power directed to the shields? A rush of heat washed over him. Yes, he said at random. Mr. Scotty asks how many units of energy to keep in reserve. What to say to this? Commander Stoker, Zulu said, half turning toward the command chair. We're in a dire situation. What are your orders? The Enterprise shuddered again, and the lights dimmed. Stoker suddenly realized he was too scared to speak, frozen solid. Then, as if taking pity on him, Kirk's voice, thin but demanding, came over the intercom. What's going on? Lieutenant Uhura, it's the captain. Sir, Uhura said, we've violated the Romulan neutral zone and are under attack. Idiot. Maintain full shields. I'm coming. Stoker felt a tremendous sense of relief, but the ordeal wasn't over yet. Voices, muffled by the distance, argued around the live intercom. Jim, you can't. None of us. Nurse, Dr. Wallace. I need to get to the bridge. Oh, Jim, you can't. Sister, there. Then the voices died down. Kirk obviously had no intention of rescuing Stoker just yet. Shaking himself, Stoker said, Lieutenant Uhura, try to contact the Romulans. Okay. No answer yet. If I can't talk to them, explain to them why we violated the neutral zone. The Romulans are known, Zulu said, for not listening to explanations. We know we've encountered them before. Call them again. I've called them through all channels, Uhura said. They're ignoring us. Why not? Said Zulu. They know we're caught. While we're sitting here, they can pound our shields until they give out. Stoker ran his hand through his hair. Then, he said, we have no choice but to surrender. That's exactly what they're after. They'll be thrilled, Zulu said, still not turning around. They've never captured a starship before. And Commander, they don't take prisoners. Then what? Sir, said Zulu, you were the commander. What are your orders? In the ship's sickbay, Chapel and Janet laid the exhausted Kirk on a cot. He struggled to stand, but despite his advanced age, they had difficulty holding him up, a task made even more difficult by the Enterprise's constant shaking. The newcomer up there will destroy my ship. Jim, said Janet, gritting her teeth, if only I give you the medicine. Jim, lie still, McCoy advised. There's nothing you can do. We're finished. No, my ship. Spock emerged from the lab carrying a flask. Dr. Wallace, this is a drug. It's untested, but we don't have time for pharmacological research and further improvements. Okay, McCoy said. Come here. It's healing. Or death. Spock handed the flask to Jeneth, who extracted the zypogulvarite from it. The best remedy will require a week of testing. What is it? Kirk asked, almost relieved. It's a hormonal drug, Janet replied. It needs to be administered immediately, but without the water impurities, it could be very dangerous for the body. A cerebral hemorrhage, cardiac arrest. You'll go into more detail, McCoy said. Give it to me. No, Kirk protested. I'll be the first to accept it. You can't, McCoy replied firmly. The Enterprise shook as if struck. How much longer do you think the ship can withstand these kinds of impacts? Kirk asked. I need to take my medicine. Jim, this will kill you, Janet said. I'll die anyway. The question of medical ethics, McCoy began. Forget about medical ethics. They're trying to destroy my ship. Give me the medicine. The captain is right, Spock remarked. If he doesn't regain his faculties and return to the command module within a few minutes, we will all perish at the hands of the Romulans. Give him the drug, Dr. Wallace. She did just that. At first, no one understood what had happened. Kirk began to convulse painfully, kicking and frantically flailing his arms. Everyone present clung to him. It seemed as if this would go on forever, but in reality, only a minute had passed when the convulsions gradually began to weaken and soon stopped altogether. Kirk felt a sense of utter humiliation. Janet pointed her finger at him and said quietly, It worked. The aging process was stopped. I don't see any changes, McCoy confirmed. She's right, Doctor, Spock said. It's working and accelerating. Janet, help me up, Kirk asked, taking a deep breath. This is more like an amusement park ride. How are you feeling? She asked. It's as if I'm being pushed through the bulkhead of the ship. Spock, you need to wait with your injection. I need you in the maintenance bay. Janet, give McCoy the injection, and then Scotty, he smiled. Besides, Spock, if what I'm thinking doesn't work, you won't need the injection. Come on. He felt better during the transition, and the feeling grew stronger with each passing second. He glanced searchingly at the people in the command module. The changes were obvious. Report, Zulu. We're surrounded by about 10 Romulan ships. The distance is about 50,000 miles. Stoker rose quickly from his command chair as Kirk approached. Kirk turned on the intercom. Mechanics, activate power to full power. All distortion energy in the channel. Full combat readiness in 2 minutes. Over. Lieutenant Uhura, establish a special channel for communication with Star Squadron Command. Code 2. But Captain, I give you orders, Lieutenant. Code 2. Transmit message. Enterprise to Starfleet Command in this sector. The ship has inadvertently entered the Romulan neutral zone, has been surrounded, and is under heavy attack by the latter. Escape is impossible. Defenses are destroyed. I will execute maneuvers using newly installed sensors. This will result in the destruction of the Enterprise and all material objects within a 20,000-mile radius. In accordance with the established destruction zone, all Federation ships are to evacuate this area and not approach within 4 light years. Detonation will occur in 1 minute. Kirk, Captain of the Enterprise. Over. Mr. Zulu, Course 188, Mark 14, Deviation 8. Keep it up. Done, sir. From his place, Spock said, The Romulans are leaving, sir. I believe they intercepted the message, which is obviously what you wanted. A logical assumption, Mr. Spock. Yes, sir, but they are still in the fire zone. Set the switches. Attention! Deviation 8. The ship rushed forward at a speed of 8 units. Spock hovered over his console. The Romulans are out of sight, sir. Nothing in sight yet. Are we outside the ring, Mr. Zulu? Yes, sir, and outside the neutral zone. Set new course, 182 degrees, Mark 4, heading for Starbase 10. We're heading back, sir. Kirk sat back down. He felt fine. Stoker approached him, his expression annoyed. Captain, he said, I was just about to assure you that I thought I always wanted to keep you and the other officers. Note, however, that a very small starbase can do this, but a starship cannot. I now understand very well what a starship with a competent captain can do. The elevator door swung open with a distinctive click, and McCoy emerged. He looked as young as ever. Kirk had given him the lead role. You look well, Bones. Well, Scotty, the medicine worked. He was a little constrained, but he felt great. So, Mr. Spock, when will you be ready? I'm ready, Doctor. Good. Since you're a Vulcanite, I've prepared a super effective remedy especially for you. Now we need to put all breakable objects away somewhere safe. That's very touching of you, Kirk smiled. A gentleman through and through. Thanks to him, we'll remember old age, of course, but we still don't want to be old, do we? Elan of Troy. Kirk's orders were simple. He was to assist his passenger from the planet Troy, who was on some secret mission. The underlying message of the instructions presented difficulties. First, the ambassador's mission was top secret. Second, his negotiations involved the notoriously hostile people of the neighboring planet Elas. Adding to the headache of assistance, both planets were located in a star system claimed by the Klingon Empire. By entering the system, the Enterprise would incur the Klingons' wrath for violating its sovereignty. Kirk was clearly annoyed as he abruptly turned his command chair toward Uhura. Inform the teleportation bay that we'll be contacting the party on Elas immediately. Ask Ambassador Petrie to meet us there. Okay, Captain. At his nod, Spock, McCoy, and Scotty followed him into the elevator. Kirk said, Some idiot came up with those instructions. Uhura's voice came from the intercom. I'm calling the captain. Kirk speaking. Captain, I'm receiving a signal from a party on Elas. They're ready to contact us, but they require an explanation for the Enterprise's delay. What delay are they talking about? Be sure to find out, Lieutenant. Keep in touch with their ship. Spock said, That attitude is typical of the Elasians, sir. The scientists who conducted the initial survey of the planet described its inhabitants as spiteful and arrogant. That's their downside, McCoy said. But their women are considered something quite special. They're said to possess some elusive, perhaps mystical, power that drives men wild. Spock looked at McCoy with disgust. It was still there when the elevator door opened to reveal the Trojan emissary. Kirk immediately addressed him. Ambassador Petrie, let's say you drop this diplomatic secrecy and tell me what your mission really is. This must wait until Dolman Ilasa, Captain, arrives on board. Dolman? Kirk asked as they entered the teleportation bay. Who the hell is Dolman? The one my people fear and hate most. Our most sworn enemy, Petrie said. The buzzing in the teleportation bay intensified, and 3 sparkling figures materialized on the platform. They were soldiers. Their chests were covered with cuirasses. All manner of unknown weapons hung from crude chains around their necks. The largest Elasian soldier, with a massive jaw and heavy, overhanging brows, aimed his strange weapon at the Enterprise group. Welcome. I am the ambassador of Troy, Petrie said. The monkey-jawed giant ignored him. Who is steering this ship? The Enterprise is under my command. I am Captain Kirk. And I am Crichton of Elas. This Trojan you have is dangerous. I need to know it's safe here before Dolman is brought aboard. Spock lowered his voice. Captain, the weapon resembles a 21st century nuclear disintegrator. Kirk spoke to the warlike Crito. My ship is truly safe. Moreover, we are equipped with everything necessary to repel any hostile action. He turned his back on the Elasian to address the teleportation bay specialist. Pass the current. Turn on the power. The central teleportation platform lit up. All three Elasians dropped to one knee. Glaring at Kirk, Crichton growled, Quickly, on one knee. Show respect to Dolman Elasa. Kirk's jaw dropped. Beside him, Petrie dropped to one knee, making a concession. It's their custom, he muttered. Standing is a breach of etiquette. Spock looked at Kirk. He nodded with annoyance. Vulcanite paused, then also knelt. This sight increased Kirk's annoyance. Suddenly, Troy's mortal enemy appeared on the central platform. Dolman was a silver-haired blonde with skin the pearly hue of a dream. Her beautiful body was just as beautiful, and it was uncovered. The few metal scarves she wore served only one purpose, to accentuate her beauty, which was too stunning to be imagined. Crito said, Glory to Elan, Dolman of Elas. Glory, Kirk thought, resisting the urge to kneel himself. Instead, he bowed his head. Then, raising it, he looked again at Dolman Elas. Under her light, silvery hair, her eyes seemed particularly dark. Blazing with disdain, they swept over the kneeling men. With a snap of his fingers, the soldiers guarding her rose to their feet. Crichton, turning to Spock and Petrie, said, Now you can stand up. She stepped forward. Crito walked behind her, tense, his weapon at the ready. Dolman's hand rested on the elaborately jeweled hilt of a dagger suspended from a gold chain she swung around her slender waist. That's odd, Kirk said to Spock. The armor is a nuclear weapon. Not without precedence. Remember the customs of the samurai, the Japanese from old Earth. Even we Vulcanites retain some symbolic vestiges. Crito growled again. Permission to talk was not given. Before Kirk could object, Elan turned to Spock. Are you piloting this ship? The voice was warm and gentle. I'm the senior officer on the ship, and the captain is Kirk. She showed no gratitude. Petrie quickly intervened. Your Majesty, I am Petrie of Troy. On behalf of my people, I ask you to welcome. I know your mission, she said with a casual smile. Then, turning to Kirk, she added, You are allowed to show the premises. He pulled himself together and thought it would be better to reach an understanding. Well, please, Captain, Petrie asked. Kirk said, My senior officer, Mr. Spock, will show you to your quarters, he said, turning to leave. Ambassador Petrie, I want to talk to you. Elan's words sounded like the crack of a whip. And they wouldn't let you go. On the verge of exploding, Kirk carefully considered his answer and decided it was best to ignore it. May I have your Majesty's permission to leave? He asked in an even voice. You can all go, she said. Outside in the hallway, Kirk bumped into Petrie. Okay, Ambassador, what exactly are we supposed to do now? Petrie took him aside. She, this woman, is to become the wife of our ruler. The marriage was arranged to bring peace. Our two warring planets currently possess the potential for mutual destruction. Some way of coexistence had to be found. Then we return to Troy? Yes, but don't rush, Captain. I'll need time. My mission is to teach her the manners of a civilized society before we reach Troy. Now you should understand why I'll need time. In her current primitive state, my people will never recognize her as queen." "Well, that's quite a mission you've been given," Kirk remarked. "These are the instructions I received. I must ask you and your team to tolerate this Elasian individual for the sake of future peace. It is vital that any disagreements be kept to a minimum from now on." "I can understand that," Kirk said. "There's one more thing you must understand, Captain. You have as much at stake as I do. Your superiors know that failure of this mission, conceived by the Federation, is fraught with danger for both you and our two planets. The peace we would have gained by accepting such an uncivilized wife for our ruler would not be peace at all." He sighed deeply. "I'll give her the official gifts I'm carrying. Perhaps that will change her mood." "I hope so," Kirk said, and thought, "A shrewish woman, a shrew, a stunningly vulgar woman. That's who I have on my ship." Alarmed, he stopped on the bridge at the Zulu outpost. "Mr. Zulu, set course for Troy. Speed impulse coefficient, 0.037. Deorbit us." Zulu looked really scared. "Impulse movement, Captain?" "Correct, Mr. Zulu. Superluminal coefficient, item 037. Zulu raised his head from the control panel and looked at him. "Captain, are you not planning on using a curved route? The entire route on impulse?" "You are a smart one, Mr. Scotty. It will take a very long time." "Are you in a hurry, Mr. Scotty?" "No, sir." "Then go ahead." However, as soon as he reached his command chair, Spock hurriedly approached him. "Captain, Dolman is unhappy with her quarters." Uhura, hearing this by chance, turned around indignantly. "What's wrong with them?" "Nothing that I can observe," Spock said. "But the Elasians all seem terribly quarrelsome." "I left my quarters," Uhura said, "because—" "I appreciate your sacrifice, Lieutenant," Kirk told her, rising from his chair. "I will speak with the lady myself." He heard furious screams even before he reached Uhura's cabin. Her door was wide open. It took him only a moment to process what was happening. A crystal box flew through the air and struck Petrie in the chest. "Pig, take your gifts. Your ruler cannot buy Dolman Ilas's favor." Petrie grabbed the box and tried to stuff the delicate lace back in. "Your Majesty," he said, "this is your wedding veil." He stepped back a safe distance to lift the lid of a golden jeweled casket. "Here," he said, "are the most precious royal jewels of Troy. This necklace is a gift from the groom's mother, destined to adorn your exquisite neck." The necklace appeared to be composed of diamonds and emeralds. Elan grabbed it. Then she threw it at Petrie, nearly hitting Kirk in the face. "I would hang myself, but I wouldn't wear these Trojan dogs around my neck." Kirk stepped over the glittering jewelry littering the floor and entered the cabin. She squealed when she saw him. "Crito!" A huge guard burst into the cabin. "Who gave you permission to enter here?" "He entered in response to your calls, Your Majesty." "I understand you're unhappy with your premises," Kirk said. She waved her hand, dismissing Crito. "Rooms?" She rested a chiseled leg on a cushioned chair. "Am I some delicate Trojan to sit on cushions?" She kicked the chair over, ran to the cabin window, and began tearing down the curtains. Her own actions had aroused her rage. "And these feminine ornaments here, they insult me." "My communications officer cleared out these rooms in the hopes that you might like them," Kirk said. "I don't like them," she pointed at Petrie. "And I find that ambassador a terrible cretin. I'm upset he's aboard your ship." Petrie, red with suppressed rage, said, "I explained to Her Majesty that her Council of Nobles and the Trojan Tribunal agreed that it was I who should introduce the future queen to the traditions and manners of our people." "Creton!" Elan called. She pointed at Petrie. "Get him out!" The guard raised his weapon. Petrie bowed and moved toward the door when she shouted after him. "And take this trash with you!" He bowed again, stooping even lower to collect the gifts she had thrown to the floor, and then walked out. "How dare he suggest that I adopt the servile customs of his people?" Elan raged. "It seems your majesty does not favor the Trojans?" Kirk asked. "I'll never forgive the Council of Nobles for forcing this whole nightmare on me. By the way, you're responsible for my living conditions." "There's nothing better on board," Kirk said. "I suggest you make your peace with it." Stunned by his audacity, she glanced at Uhura's vanity, searching for something she could smash to pieces. "You dare offer that to me?" Lieutenant Uhura's personal belongings have been removed from the cabin, but if throwing things around gives you pleasure, I'll arrange for the cabin to be stocked with breakables. "I will not allow myself to be humiliated." "Then behave yourself," Kirk said, and walked towards the door, hearing a squeal from behind. "I didn't give you permission to leave." "I didn't ask him to," he said, slamming the door behind him. An excited Petrie was waiting for him in the corridor. "Captain, I wish to contact my government. I cannot complete my mission. I would insult my ruler if I brought him this incorrigible monster as a bride." "Cool down, Ambassador. Your mission is one of peace." "There can be no peace between the Elasians and us. We've been deceived. The truth is, when I'm with these people, I don't want peace. I want to kill them." "Then you're just like her," Kirk said. "You don't have to like the Elasians. You have to do the job." "This is impossible. She simply doesn't want to listen to me." "Make her listen," Kirk said. "Don't be such a soft diplomat. She respects strength. Stand your ground, Ambassador." "I have pride too, Captain, and I won't allow myself to be humiliated." "You're on duty, Ambassador. So am I. We're carrying out orders to deliver Dolman in suitable condition for this wedding. If that means swallowing our pride, then it must be done." "Okay," Petrie sighed. "I'll try again." "Resolutely, Ambassador. Continue with her resolutely. Good luck." A shamelessly loud, vulgar woman. What she desperately needed was one good punch to her charming jaw. Kirk, returning to the bridge, was greeted by Uhura's question. "Does she like my rooms a little better now, Captain?" "She's drawn her conclusions, Lieutenant, and I think everything will be fine." The voice on the intercom said excitedly, "Alarm! Danger! 5th deck!" Kirk ran to the elevator. Security Officer Ivane met him as soon as he exited on the 5th deck. "This is Ambassador Petrie, sir. He refuses to explain what happened, but—" At the door to Elan's quarters, 2 Enterprise security personnel stood face to face with 3 Elan guards. "Please step aside," Kirk said to Cretan. The giant with the jaw of a primitive man said, "Her Majesty did not summon you." Elan opened the door behind him. "Let them remove this Trojan pig," she said. Petrie lay on the cabin floor, face down in a pool of his own blood, a bejeweled dagger protruding from his back. In the ship's sickbay, McCoy looked up and at Kirk. "The knife went in deep, Jim. He lost a lot of blood." Kirk leaned over the patient. The first thing he saw was a look of hatred. "If I don't get better," Petrie said weakly, "it will be on your conscience." "I said talk to her, not fight." "I should have gotten to know her better before entering that cabin unarmed. But you forced me. I hold you responsible for this." "Captain!" It was Uhura. "I just received a message from Starfleet Command. Encrypted, urgent. I just ran it through the decoder." "What is it, Lieutenant?" "The Federation's High Commissioner is on his way to Troy to attend the King's wedding." McCoy whistled. "Phew! Now there's real trouble. When the commissar finds out the bride just tried to kill the groom's ambassador." "You reassure me, Bones." But McCoy had already returned to the patient, whom Sister Christina was preparing for the procedure. While she was doing so, she said, "If Elasian women are so depraved, why are men so drawn to them? What is their magical power?" "It's not magic," Petrie said dismissively. "It's biochemical, a chemical found in their tears. A man who ever comes into contact with an Elasian woman's tears becomes her slave forever." What nonsense, Kirk thought. This man is a fool. The failure of his mission will soon be revealed to the Federation High Commissioner, and here he is, ranting about the tears of Elasian women. He approached the bed. "Ambassador, I have news for you. The Federation High Commissioner is on his way. He's going to a wedding." "There will be no wedding. I wouldn't allow our ruler to marry that creature even if the entire galaxy depended on it. And I want nothing more to do with you." "I didn't ask you to have anything to do with me. I asked you to complete your mission." He turned to McCoy. "Bones, how long will it take to get him back on his feet?" "A few days, maybe even a week." Petrie raised his head from the pillow. "Captain, you put me in this bed, and in this bed I intend to stay, indefinitely. I have nothing more to say to you." Kirk looked at McCoy. He shrugged. Uhura and McCoy followed him out of the room and into the hallway. "I don't know what to do with him, Jim. He's as nasty as she is. They all have pig heads. They just hate each other," McCoy said. "You must admit he has a more compelling reason for his hatred." "Captain, can you explain to the High Commissioner that that's impossible?" Uhura said. "High Commissioners don't like explanations. They like results. Anyway, how do you deal with a woman like that?" "You stay away from her, Captain. As far as—" She suddenly fell silent. The sounds of soft music drifted from the lounge they were passing. Uhura's face lit up. "Captain, they said music has a charm that can soothe the soul of a savage. Dolman's soul is very wild. Suppose you—" "It takes a tremendous amount of any music to calm that woman down," McCoy said. But Kirk looked thoughtfully at the door to the lounge. He opened it and saw Spock, seated apart from the rest of the crew, strumming his vulcanite lyre. Its ethereal sounds harmonized with the room's decor. A carpet of pink grass, vines lining the walls, and a fountain spraying purple water into the air. "Spock, what is this music you are playing?" "Just scales. I'm tuning the lyre." "Can you play any tunes on that contraption?" McCoy asked. "I took second place at the Vesivulcanite music competition." "Who got the first one?" "My father." "Can you play a love song?" Kirk asked. "A mating song. In ancient times, the Vulcanite lyre was used to stimulate marital passion." "We need some semblance of that stimulation on this ship," Kirk said. "I think the wedding on Troy will go ahead if we can just convince the bride to participate." Considering that she simply stabbed her teacher of wedding etiquette, which a bride must observe at the behest of the groom, teaching her about it seems like a waste of effort, McCoy said. "Assign another teacher," Spock advised. "You, Spock?" "Of course not. Logic dictates that Dolman would only favorably receive the highest-ranking person on board this vessel." Everyone looked at Kirk. He, in turn, looked at them, thinking over every detail of Elan's taming. "Okay, Spock. Give me 5 minutes, and then begin playing your music in Dolman's quarters." He left, and as Spock's fingers traced the strings of the instrument, Uhura sighed. "Mr. Spock, this music truly touches me." "I also feel how it relaxes me." "Relaxing isn't the best word I'd use to describe her," Uhura said. "I'd absolutely love to learn to play that lyre." "I'd be happy to teach you the theory, Lieutenant. However, as far as I know, no non-Vulcanite has ever mastered this skill." While in Elan's quarters, Kirk wanted to teach her a lesson in table manners. He watched as she picked up a bottle of wine from her luxuriously set dining table, took a long swig, and wiped her mouth with her charming hand. Then she swallowed, and setting the bottle down, said, "So, the ambassador will recover. This is very bad." She quickly snatched a roast young pigeon from the table, stuffed her mouth full of meat, and tossing the rest of the delicacy over her shoulder, added, "You've given me news. I'll let you go." He was enchanted by the skill with which she managed to speak and chew at the same time. "I could wish for nothing better, but I would like to point out that Your Majesty's passionate nature has— That Trojan pig was on my premises without permission. Naturally, I stabbed him." Kirk said, "You Elasians pride yourself on being a warlike race. Then you must understand discipline, must possess the ability to follow orders as well as give them. You, Elan, have been ordered to marry the ruler of Troy and become familiar with the customs of his people." "The Trojans disgust me," she said. "Any contact with them makes me feel dirty." Her cheek was smeared with a large, greasy pigeon stain. "My life experience tells me that people's prejudices disappear when they get to know each other." Spock's music began to filter into the cabin. "I've never had this experience," she said, reaching for a cream-filled cookie. "In any case, this problem still faces us." "Problem?" "Yes, your training in the customs of Troy." "I have fixed this problem." "No, you eliminated your teacher. The problem remains." His mouth full, he smiled mercilessly. How she did it, he couldn't understand. "And her solution," she said. "With the new teacher." "Oh." She placed her dagger on the table. "What are those disgusting, nauseating sounds?" With a cake in her hand, she stood up, walked over to the intercom, and turned off the vulcanite music. Licking the cream off the cake, she said, "And you, what can you teach me?" "Firstly, the ability to behave at the table." He took a napkin, walked over to her, removed the cake, and wiped her mouth, cheek, and fingers. "This," he said, "is a napkin used at the table to wipe away traces of wine and food, instead of leaving them around the mouth, on the cheeks, and on the fingers." He wiped his hand with it. Then, holding it tightly, he led Elan to the table. "And this," he said, "is a plate. Food rests on it. A plate is made specifically for food to rest on, unlike floors. Floors, on the other hand, are made to be walked on." He poured wine into a glass and raised it. "This is a goblet," he continued, "a vessel for drinking wine. A bottle, Your Majesty, is intended only for holding wine." She grabbed the bottle and took another sip from it. "Leave me," she snapped. "You will learn what you were ordered to learn," he said. "You will return me to Elas immediately." "This is impossible." She stamped her foot. "What I command is always possible. I will not go to Troy. I will not be given to a fat Trojan pig as a bride to end the war." She raised the wine bottle to her lips again. Kirk snatched it away. "You are very fond of the title of dolman," he said. "If you do not wish to fulfill the duties it imposes, then renounce it." Her shock was genuine. "No one has ever dared to talk to me like that." "That's your problem," he said. "No one ever told you the truth. You're an uncivilized little savage, a vicious child with a bad temper and a woman's body." Her fist lashed out and hit Kirk in the jaw. She pulled her hand back to hit him again when he grabbed it and slammed it hard across her face. The blow knocked her off her feet and she fell onto the bed. Shaking with rage, Kirk screamed, "You heard the truth from me for the first time in your entire lousy life." He headed for the door, and her dagger whistled past his ear and lodged itself, quivering in the decorative ornament on the wall near his head. He pulled it out and, throwing it back to her, said, "Tomorrow's lesson, Your Majesty, will be about politeness." As he stormed out and the door closed behind him, she yanked the tablecloth down in a rage. He didn't turn around at the sound of breaking dishes. He stepped out of the elevator leading to the bridge and saw Spock watching intently through his sensor eyepiece. "Captain, look at this. At first I thought it was a sensor trace, but I checked the equipment. It's working perfectly." Kirk examined the shadow. "Reflection of a hydrogen cloud?" "Not a single one in this area. A shadow appears from time to time." "Your guess, Mr. Spock?" "None, sir. Insufficient data." "This isn't an equipment malfunction, nor is it a reflection of natural phenomena. Then is it a spacecraft?" The intercom beeped. Scotty's voice was thick with anger. "Captain, should I let these passengers hang around my equipment unnecessarily? I know what you said. They need to be respected, but..." "Hang in there, Scotty, and be polite, no matter how annoying it may be. I'm coming." He himself was amazed when he opened the engine room door. Elan and her 3 guards stood hunched over the space warping mechanism. Scotty barely contained his rage as he said, "I believe, madam, that even our impulsive movement must seem fast to you." "We're interested in how ships are used in combat, not what powers them. Engines are for mechanics and crews." Scotty choked with anger. "Servants! How long do you think—" "Mr. Scotty," Kirk said sharply. He walked towards Elan with long strides. "Why didn't you tell me that you wanted to inspect the engine room?" "Don't I have freedom on this ship? I've given your people permission not to kneel in my presence. What more do you want?" "Politeness. Politeness is not for subordinates." Kirk said, "Mr. Scotty, our chief engineer, received you in his department. It was a courtesy. You will reciprocate by saying, 'Thank you, Mr. Scotty.'" It looked like she was about to spit at him. Then she said firmly, "Thank you, Mr. Scotty." Her bodyguards stared at her, stunned, dumbfounded. She nudged one of them. "Let's go," and she stormed out of the room. "Your school seems to be coming into its own," Scotty said. There was a buzzing sound from the intercom next to them, and Spock's voice said, "Contact the captain." "Kirk speaking." "The shadow on the sensor is approaching, sir." "I'm coming." His guess was correct. The shadow on the sensor was a spaceship. Kirk studied the device for a long moment. Then he looked up. "The question is, Mr. Spock, whose ship is this?" "No data yet, sir." "Captain," Zulu called. "We have a weak bearing, sir. Mark 73.5. "Maximum gain," Kirk said. The main screen showed simply a medium-sized optical spot amidst a motionless star field. Suddenly, a clear image of an unfamiliar yet oddly ominous spaceship appeared. "Our apparition has materialized, Captain," Spock said. Kirk nodded calmly. Klingon warship. He returned to his command post, his face even more serious. He turned to look at the screen again. "Any changes, Mr. Spock?" "Negative, sir. The Klingon ship simply entered the contact zone. It's moving ahead at exactly the same superluminal speed as we are." The bridge screen was designed to show what was happening outside the Enterprise. It couldn't show what was happening inside. Kirk couldn't see Kryton sneak into the engine room and hide behind the massive installation where Second Engineer Watson was working. Silently, the Elasian removed the cover from the main relay box, pulled a small dial-studded disc from his uniform ammunition pouch, adjusted the dials, and placed the disc in the relay box. Only as he was installing it did Watson sense something was wrong. He appeared before Kryton, instrument in hand, crying out, "What are you doing here?" Crichton's fist hit him in the chin like a spring. Watson collapsed. A moment later, Crichton had already hidden behind the installation, then returned to the relay box. On the bridge, Kirk, still focused on the actions of Clinton's ship, turned to Uhura. "Lieutenant, open the hail frequency. Provide information on us and learn their intentions." She logged into the dashboard and shook her head. "No answer, sir, on any channel." "Then continue checking all frequencies on the monitor, Lieutenant." He paused and then turned to Zulu. "Phaser teams ready, Mr. Zulu?" He paused, then added, "Turn on the yellow alert." And rising from his chair, "Mr. Spock, it's time." Down in the engine room, still unnoticed, Crichton was establishing communications. The lights in the grate flickered faintly, then flared back to full strength. Kirk, on Deck 5, walked down the corridor toward Elan's quarters. As he expected, 2 guards stood at her door. But Crichton wasn't among them. Slightly alarmed, he asked, "Where's Crichton?" "Busy," said the guard. Both raised their weapons. "No one is allowed to enter Dolman's office," said one. "Inform Her Majesty that Captain Kirk requests the honor of receiving him. Dolman said I'd be whipped to death if I let Captain Kirk through that door." Kirk rushed past them. The weapon rose. Suddenly, the beam flashed twice, and the guards fell, while Spock emerged from the opposite door, phaser in hand. "Have them taken to the security bay, Mr. Spock." "Captain, how could you have foreseen that she would refuse to let you in? Your train of thought eludes me." "It's on your planet, Mr. Spock, that women act logically. No other planet in the galaxy can claim that." He opened Elan's door and found her sitting in front of the mirror, engrossed in combing her shiny hair. As soon as she caught sight of his reflection in the glass, she rushed to the bed, where she had discarded her belt and dagger. Raising it high, she lunged at Kirk, aiming the tip at his heart. He grabbed her wrist, and she shrieked. "You dared to touch a member of the royal family of Elas?" "Of course, yes, in self-defense." He put the dagger away. She tried to scratch his face with her nails. He struggled with her, eventually rendering her unable to move her arms. "For what you did, the punishment on Ellis is death. You're not on Ellis now. You're on my ship. I'm in command here." She suddenly bit his hand. The pain weakened his grip, and she broke free and ran into the next room, the door slamming behind her. "This is your warning, Captain," she shouted from there. "Don't ever touch me again." "Fine," Kirk shouted back. "Then I'll send Mr. Spock and Dr. McCoy to you. But I'll tell you one thing. You will still do what the Council and the Tribunal order you." It drove him crazy. The Klingon warship was nearby, and he was stuck behind the bathroom door, trying to reason with this spoiled brat who had no brains whatsoever. "I'm leaving," he shouted. "I'm fed up with you." She opened the door. "Captain?" She hesitated. "There is one thing you can teach me." "No, no," he growled at her. "You were right the first time. I don't want to teach you anything. Never. You know everything." Suddenly, she began to cry. "I don't know everything. I don't know how to make people love me. Everyone hates me." He was stunned to the core. Genuine tears filled his dark eyes. It was a sight he had never expected to see. "Well, listen," he said. "It's not true that everyone hates you." "No, they hate it," she sobbed. "Everyone hates it." He walked up to her and wiped her tear-stained cheeks with his hand. "Stop crying," he said. "Nobody likes being treated like they're nothing." Suddenly, he felt hot. "There's something wrong with the ventilation in this room. I need some air. We'll take a short break, Your Majesty." "Captain?" He turned. Beautiful lips smiled at him. Hands with pearl-colored skin called to him. He stared at her for a long moment. Then he walked straight into her arms. He kissed her, and the whole world, the Klingon ship, the High Commissioner, everything he had ever known in his life, ceased to exist for him. "You slapped me," she whispered. "We'll talk about this later," Kirk said quietly, and their lips met again in a kiss. Uhura, checking her indicators, pressed the selector button. "Comm to the captain," she said, looking at Spock. "Mr. Spock, I accept. I have it on the sensor." "Comm to the captain," she repeated, frowning. "Comm to the captain. Captain Kirk, please respond." Kirk's voice was heard, unfamiliar and surprised. "Kirk speaking. Captain, I'm receiving a transmission from inside the Enterprise. It's aimed at the Klingon vessel with a tight beam." Elan nibbled Kirk's earlobe. "A transmission?" he asked absently. Her eyelashes were very black, though they should have been light silver. "Stop it," he said, and she kissed his ear, and he was able to focus his attention on the intercom for a moment to ask, "Can you pinpoint the source of the transmission, Lieutenant?" "This is Spock, Captain. I'm triangulating now. It's coming from the engine room, sir." This news broke his stupor. "Security to the engine room! There's an intruder on board! All decks alert!" He ran to the elevator door. Scotty met him in the engine room. He was shocked. He pointed to Watson's body. "Watson must have discovered this devil after he got in here. That's why he was killed. This was in his hand when I found him. It looks like some kind of transmitter." Kirk took it. "It's a Klingon," he said. McCoy rose from Watson's body. "Your neck is broken, Jim." Kirk walked over to where two of the security guards stood with phasers trained on Crichton, keeping the monkey-jawed Elasian under guard. "What signal did you send to that Klingon ship? What was your mission?" Unperturbed, his eyes burning with contempt, Krydo said, "Captain, you must know that I will not say anything. Our interrogation methods are more torturous than yours." "I know you're trained to withstand any kind of physical torture," Kirk said, approaching the intercom. Kirk to Spock. "Spock speaking, Captain." "Mr. Spock, that was Crichton broadcasting. He refuses to talk. I'll need you to conduct—" "Captain!" It was Evans from security. "The prisoner is sick and vomiting." Kirk quickly turned to see Kratoya clutching his stomach. The Elasian sank to his knees and snatched Evans's phaser. Then he turned it around, fired at himself, and vanished. Stunned, Evans said, "It's my fault, Captain, but it really did seem like he—" "What was he hiding that he would die to keep it a secret?" Kirk asked worriedly, turning to Scotty. "He didn't come here just to use the transmitter. Scotty, I want you to check every relay we have." "Captain, do you realize how many relays there are in the engine room?" "Don't waste time talking to me. Do it." He himself, wasting no time, returned to Elan's cabin. She took the news of Crichton's suicide calmly. "He was out of his mind from the moment my wedding was announced. He was from a noble family, and he loved me. So he sold out to Clinton out of jealousy? Perhaps." She placed her hand on his heart. "It's mine, isn't it? Let's not talk about trivial matters anymore." "There's a Klingon warship nearby," he told her. "What's it doing there?" "He's not walking alongside us just to prevent the wedding." She rested her light silver head on his shoulder. "We should applaud their efforts against the wedding. He grabbed her by the shoulders. Elan, 2 planets, the stability of the entire star system depend on your wedding. We must forget what happened. Could you do that? Give me to another man? You and I received orders. You are to belong to another man. What happened between us was an accident. It wasn't an accident. I chose you, and you chose me. Before he could speak, she added, Listen, I have a plan. On this ship, you could completely destroy Troy. Then there would be no need for a wedding. Our grateful people would hand you command of the star system. He stared at her in horror. How can you suggest such monstrous things? They are Trojans, she said, finding herself in his arms again. You cannot fight against this love, against my love. Captain! It was Spock. There was a pause before he said, May I see you for a moment? Kirk didn't answer. The sorceress in his arms was right. He couldn't fight this love, this passion, this doom, whatever it was, whatever name he chose to give it. Named or unnamed, it captivated him. His lips met hers again. The door opened. Spock and McCoy stared at them, disbelieving. Jim! Kirk looked up, unseeing. Jim! Please, let me talk to you. Kirk struggled free of her embrace and walked towards the door with the slow, heavy gait of a man walking underwater. He turned and glanced at Elan. Then, stumbling, he walked out into the corridor. Captain, are you all right? Spock asked. He nodded. Jim, was she crying? What? Did she cry? And did her tears touch your skin? Kirk frowned. Yes. Then we're in trouble, McCoy sighed. Jim, listen to me. Petrie told Christina that the tears of Elysian women contain a biochemical substance that acts as a high-grade Category A love potion. Kirk stared at the hand that had wiped the tears from Elan's cheek. From what Petrie says, it never wears off, McCoy said. Bones, you must find the antidote. I can try, but I'll have to do some tests. The intercom in the corridor spoke. Contact the captain. Kirk speaking. Zulu's excited voice said, Captain, Clinton's ship has changed course. It's heading towards us at a curved speed. The look of confusion faded from Kirk's face. Guidance stations, he ordered clearly. I'm coming. Alarms filled the bridge as he stepped out of the elevator. He glanced at the screen and caught the rapidly enlarging silhouette of Clinton's ship. Prepare phasers, he ordered as he ran toward his command chair. Phasers ready, sir, Zulu reported. Spock shouted, Its speed is greater than the 6th warp, Captain! Without taking his eyes off the screen, Kirk said, Mr. Chekhov, set a course that will take us directly out of this system. If they want to fight, we'll need room to maneuver. The course is programmed into the computer, sir. Very good. Forward, second curvature, and... The intercom beeped. Scotty's excited voice. Captain, the reactor! Before Scotty could get another word out, Kirk barked, Cancel the order, Mr. Zulu. Zulu jerked his hand away from the button he was about to press, as if it were red hot. Spock left his seat to come and stand next to Kirk. What's the matter, Scotty? Everyone on the bridge heard Scotty say, The antimatter shell is set to explode the moment we switch to curved motion. A few moments passed before Kirk spoke. This bomb was probably planted by Kryton. Scotty, can you defuse it? No, otherwise the explosion will destroy half the galaxy. Kirk felt the pressure of the eyes focused on him. He took a deep breath. Then apply all the force you have to the impulse, and find a way to defuse the bomb. It was in this atmosphere of general excitement that Elan found herself as she exited the elevator onto the bridge. On the screen, Clinton's ship was zooming in, its details in full view. "Mr. Zulu, stand by so we can maneuver quickly." He remained silent. Kirk turned to the screen and saw Elan. Though he was absorbed in the critical situation, he had to fight the urge to go to her immediately. He gripped the armrests of his chair. Spock moved closer to him. Zulu said in an indifferent voice, 100,000 kilometers. Time passed quickly. Then Zulu said, 90 kilometers. "Don't shoot," Kirk said. Zulu licked his lips. 60, 50. On the screen, the Klingon ship blurred into a spot of indistinct outline due to its enormous speed. "He passed us without firing a shot," Zulu said very quietly. "Captain, I don't think they intended to attack us," Spock said. Now that the critical situation was over, Kirk was once again acutely aware of Elan's presence. He rose from his chair as if drawn toward her by an invisible chain. A watchful Spock spoke warningly. "We were lucky this time." The invisible chain snapped. Kirk fell back into his chair. Yes, their tactics are now clear. They were trying to force us to switch to a curved path. That way, we would have destroyed ourselves. Their problem would have been solved without the risk of war with the Federation. Very clever. "Very," Spock said. "But why do they consider possession of this system vital?" "A very good question, Mr. Spock." "I have one more question, sir. Isn't the bridge an inappropriate place for Dolman at a time like this?" "It's up to me," Kirk began, but meeting Spock's eyes, he added, "You're right, Mr. Spock. Thank you." He took a big step towards Elan. "I want you to leave the bridge and go to the ship's isolation ward. It's the most secure place on the ship." "I want to be with you," she said. "Your presence here prevents me from protecting you." "I won't leave." Putting his arm around her shoulders, he gently pushed her toward the elevator. He looked over her head at Spock. "You can pilot the ship, Mr. Spock." As the sliding elevator door closed, she wrapped her arms around his neck. "I love you. I got you out of there. But I don't understand why you didn't shoot Clinton." "If it is better not to shoot to complete my task, I do not shoot." "This task," she asked, "is to take me to Troy." "Yes, that's right," he said. "Would you make me wear a wedding dress to marry someone else and never see me again?" "Yes, Elan." "Are you excited about this prospect?" The selector buzzed. "Scotty is calling the captain." "Kirk speaking." "Bad news, Commander. The entire detector conversion unit has melted and short-circuited. There's no chance of repairing it. It's completely unusable." "There is no way to restore warp energy?" "Without special crystals, no, sir. We can't even generate enough energy to fire the weapon." "Elan, I need to get back to the bridge. Please go to the infirmary. There's the door, down that corridor." She stood on tiptoe to kiss him on the forehead. "All right, my brave lover." He watched her walk toward the isolation cell door. Whatever chemical was in the tears he'd wiped from her cheek, it was potent stuff. McCoy had an incomprehensible difficulty finding this substance. He made 24 tests, but it was too early to talk about any positive results. Petrie watched as he examined the samples given to him by Sister Christina. "You're wasting your time," he said. "There's no antidote for the poison contained in Elan's tears. The men of Elas have desperately tried to identify it, but have always failed." He sank back onto the pillow, and at that moment, Elan opened the isolation cell door. She addressed McCoy. "The captain asked me to come here for safety reasons." Petrie raised his head again. What about our safety? How about that, with this woman here? How do you rate our chances of survival, Dr. McCoy? The captain is responsible for that, McCoy said. Petrie seemed deep in thought. After a long silence, he reached into the gold box under his bed and pulled out the necklace Elan had rejected earlier. He pulled on a hospital gown and slowly approached her. I failed, and failed my duty to my people, he said with difficulty. Had I been wiser, perhaps I could have prepared you to marry our ruler. Now, when we may all die, I ask you again to accept the necklace as a sign of my sincere respect, the sincere desire of my people to live in peace among us. Responsibility, duty, that's all you men ever think about, she said angrily. But she took the necklace. When Kirk returned to the bridge, he heard even worse news. It fell to Uhura to break it. A message from a Klingon ship, sir. They intend to board us, and if we resist, we will be destroyed. They demand an immediate response. So they're going to force a fight on us, Kirk said. Returning to his command chair, he pressed a button on his intercom. Kirk to the engine room. What's the power status, Scotty? 93% impulse force, Captain. We can still maneuver, sir, Spock said. Yes, we can move like a scow loaded with junk, Scotty said. Our defensive fields can only withstand a few attacks, and without the matter-antimatter reactors, we don't stand a chance against a starship. Captain, could you contact Starfleet Command in that case? And let the Klingon crew know they've managed to disable the engines? Kirk retorted sharply. No, we'll wait a while. He turned in his chair to face the people standing on the bridge. We'll continue, he said. On course, hoping that the Klingon crew can be fooled or that they'll reconsider starting an all-out war. Lieutenant Uhura, activate the hail frequency. He grabbed his microphone. This is Captain James Kirk of the USS Enterprise, en route to the Federation. Our mission is peaceful, but we will not tolerate interference. The Klingon's hoarse voice filled the bridge. Prepare to be captured or destroyed. Our strategy is very effective, Kirk grumbled. Captain, Klingon is intercepting, Zulu exclaimed. 500,000 kilometers, he added. Engage deflector fields. Elan chose that moment to emerge from the elevator leading to the bridge, radiant in the shimmering white of her wedding dress, a Trojan necklace of clear gemstones around her neck. Kirk tore his eyes away from the spectacle she was creating and slammed his fist on the intercom. Mr. Scotty, can you supply at least some of the energy to the phaser storage bank? No, sir, not possible. Elan was near Kirk. Looking away from her, he said, I told you to stay in the isolation ward. If I die, it will be next to you. We're not going to die. Leave the bridge. She walked slowly toward the elevator and stopped, leaning her head against the wall. Zulu shouted, 1,000 kilometers! And the ship shuddered under the impact of the Klingon's missile. As it exploded in the barrier field, its flash illuminated the Enterprise in a blazing, multicolored light. He passed us by, Spock rejoiced. All the fields held. Mr. Zulu, keep our forward shields pointed in his direction. He's heading this way again, sir, Zulu said. Stay at the controls. Keep the forward shields pointed at him. On the screen, the Klingon ship appeared to be an approaching stripe due to its speed. He's coming to our flank, Mr. Zulu. Lead him. The force of the next blow made everything on the bridge shake. Zulu! Kirk shouted. Sorry, Captain. The ship is not responding quickly enough to the impulse motion. It passed us again, Spock said. The fourth shield is damaged, sir. How serious? He can't withstand another strong impact. Captain, I'm getting some very strange readings on the sensor scale. What kind of testimony, Mr. Spock? Vulcanite grabbed his tricorder and began to use it to survey the bridge area. Suddenly, he jumped up from his chair and pointed at Elan. "She is the source!" he shouted. "She?" Kirk said. "You mean Elan?" "Her necklace, Captain!" They both ran up to her. "What are these gems?" Kirk demanded. Confused, she touched the necklace. "We call these white beads radons. They're perfectly ordinary stones." Spock scanned the diamonds with a round device on his tricorder. Beneath it, they glowed and sparkled with an unearthly fire. "This necklace is highly prized simply because of its antiquity," Elan said. "Ordinary stones," Kirk said. "No wonder the Klingon people are so interested in this star system. May I have this necklace, Your Majesty?" "If it can be of any help, of course," she replied. "You just might save us," Kirk said. "Mr. Spock, do you think Scotty could use a few of these crystals?" "There is a grain of truth in your assumption, Captain." Spock entered the elevator with the necklace in his hand. "He's coming again, sir, entering our space," Zulu shouted. "Mr. Zulu, prepare to quickly turn to port on my command. Try to protect the fourth shield." "It's time, Mr. Zulu. Turn the rudder to port." Once again, the shields reflected a brilliant play of multicolored light, even though the ship vibrated violently from the concussion of the Klingon attack. "The shields are still capable of something," Zulu shouted. "Captain, we're transmitting," Uhura said sharply. At Kirk's nod, she quickly turned on the microphone. The Klingon's guttural voice sounded victorious. "Enterprise, our data confirms your power is extremely low. Your shields are buckling. This is your last chance to surrender." "The fourth shield is down, sir. Impulse power has dropped to 31%, Zulu reported. Kirk approached Uhura's station. "Lieutenant, activate the comm." He grabbed the microphone. "This is Captain Kirk, requesting your terms of surrender." "No conditions. Surrender must be unconditional and immediate." Kirk pressed the selector button. "Scotty, what's the score?" "We're installing it now. We need to run a few tests to be sure." "We'll test it in battle." "These are raw crystals, sir," Spock said. "There is no way to determine how unusual shapes will affect the energy flow." Scotty used the intercom to issue a warning. "Captain, with a disturbance in the energy flow, we can take off into the air just as easily as—" Kirk turned it off. "Let me know when it's installed," he said, turning back to Uhura. "Hail frequency again, Lieutenant." Returning to his chair, he spoke into the microphone. "This is the USS Enterprise. Do you guarantee the safety of our passenger, Dolman Elis?" A sharp voice repeated. "No conditions. Immediate capitulation." "Captain, he's starting to move." "I see, Mr. Zulu." Standing before the screen, Kirk felt a hand rest gently on his arm. Elan watched with him as death, in the form of a Klingon ship, approached them. Then Spock's voice came over the intercom. "He's there, sir, but I'm not responsible for—" "Get up here quickly," Kirk ordered. He turned away from the screen. "Mr. Zulu, prepare warp power. Mr. Chekhov, arm photon torpedoes." "Photon torpedoes ready, sir." "Apply warp energy to the shields, Captain." "No, Mr. Zulu. His sensors would have registered our energy level increasing. The more vulnerable he thinks we are, the closer he'll get. And when he passes, I want warp power engaged. You'll rotate to warp 2 to—" "Yes, sir." "Mr. Chekhov, provide him with the full power of photon torpedoes." Scotty rushed to the bridge to take his place at the controls. Zulu said, 100,000 kilometers, sir." "Mr. Scotty, be prepared to activate warp power." The engineer looked up from his tuning knob. "Wobbling, Captain. It's the crystal's form." "I was afraid of that." 75,000, said Zulu. He will shoot at minimum range, Mr. Zulu. 40,000, said Zulu. Scotty's worried eyes never left the flickering lights on his dashboard. It's not calming down, Captain. The vibrations are still there. The Klingon ship's volume nearly filled the screen. Kirk said, Engage Warp 2, Scotty. Full power to shields. Mr. Zulu, Warp 2. Go to course 147, Mark 3. The Klingon ship fired. The Enterprise lurched sideways, spinning dizzily in the blinding glare of the now familiar glowing flames reflected off its damaged shields. We're still alive! Scotty screamed in disbelief. Fire photon torpedoes at full power. They waited. Elan's hand found Kirk's. Then they heard it. From far away in space came the thunderous roar of an explosion tearing through metal. A direct hit from a photon torpedo into the middle of the ship, Zulu screamed. Spock raised his head. The third Klingon field is damaged, Captain. The fourth is destroyed. They've lost the ability to maneuver, sir. Chekhov turned around. He's very badly damaged, retreating at reduced speeds, sir. Security from General Staff, Kirk asked. Elan looked at him, her eyes shining with delight and pride. You won't chase him and finish him off? No. Their eyes met. A long time passed before he found the strength to say, Mr. Zulu, set course for Troy. And seeing how hope faded from her face, he turned away. In the teleportation department, Petrie took his place on the platform. Then Elan entered in her wedding dress, touched the Trojan necklace she was wearing, and smiled at him. The 2 missing stones here saved our lives, Petrie. He bowed low. She walked up to Kirk. Will you be at the ceremony? No. She unfastened the bejeweled dagger from her belt. I want you to keep it as a souvenir. You convinced me that such things don't suit me. She leaned over and kissed his hand. Don't forget me, she whispered. It's beyond my power, he said. And not in mine. But now I am following orders. She took her place on the platform, her 2 guards standing beside her. Don't forget me, Captain James Kirk. Her voice broke. Goodbye, Kirk said, and hurried over to Scotty, who was standing at the transporter controls. Power up, he ordered. Scotty pulled the lever, and Elan's figure began to shimmer. He turned to look at her one last time. Her eyes, glistening with tears, met his. McCoy, very excited, met him as he stepped out of the elevator onto the bridge. Jim, I've finally isolated the substance contained in this woman's tears, and I believe I've found an antidote. There is no need for it, Doctor, Spock said. The captain has found his own antidote. The Enterprise infected the captain long before Dolman's tears ever fell upon him. Mr. Zulu, get us out of orbit, Kirk said. Was the Enterprise truly the antidote to Elan? McCoy and Spock seemed absolutely certain of it. But he wasn't so sure. Not yet, anyway.